This ain't my first rodeo. Have you heard of that one?
And that's a new one on me.
Okay, so it's not amazing. It's not a special song that you have to go and look up right now on Spotify. But this ain't my first rodeo when it comes to RMS. So I've worked with other RMS companies in Europe, in other parts of the world. So when I say not all RMS are made equal, which is the subject of today's presentation, I can say it from firsthand experience. It's not just a sales line or a scripted line because it sounds interesting. I literally have worked with many other RMS systems. So what I'll be sharing today is what's different and what's unique about the Lybra Assistant RMS. I value everyone's time too much. I don't want to waste your time by repeating what every other RMS is doing, whether that's good or bad. I want to share with you what we're doing different, what's different in Lybra, and why it matters to you. So firstly, the name Lybra, very briefly, comes from the Latin root word meaning equilibrium or balance. Lybra was designed to be a system based on the balance between artificial intelligence and machine learning on one side, and human interaction, human knowledge, human experience on the other side. So we have brought together a system with a very different perspective on how to optimize pricing and revenues for a hotel, but not just tapping into advanced technologies, but presenting that in a way that's optimal for user experience. And again, I can tell you, this is one area where no RMS is equal in terms of user experience. I'm not going to name names or name brands, but there are systems out there, not just RMS, but every type of product, where you need to stare at the screen for 2 minutes to try and understand what's going on, and you still probably don't understand. So not all RMS are made equal, and you're going to see that today. I've got some slides to begin with, and then I'm going to log into the Lybra Assistant RMS application and show you live exactly what the usability is like, what the features and functionalities look like. We will be looking at the actual live product.
Perfect.
And that's not very common. That's not really very standard for the way RMSs operate in the market today. If you're a hotelier, any RMS will give you any time you want for a presentation, but a public forum for everyone to look at? No. That's where they become very, very secretive, very protective, very sensitive. We don't have that approach at all. We have nothing to hide. We love to share our innovation, and this is what today will be about. So when we think about revenue management, and I'm not even talking about RM technology right now, when we think about revenue management, what information do you need as a revenue manager? You know, what are the key ingredients? And you probably all correctly start with, okay, hotel PMS information is super important. Yeah, absolutely. Not just historical, but forward reservation data, group block information, the total lifetime value of your guest, transaction level data. It's all very, very important. And in this regard, yeah, Lybra absolutely uses that information, but we use it in a different way than most RMS. Now, Lybra also is doing its own rate shopping. So I want to be really clear that Lybra is not a rate shopper. There are some really great rate shopping products in the market, and they're very useful, very valuable to many, many, many hoteliers. But Lybra does its own rate shopping because the algorithm was optimized right from the beginning to be based on real-time demand, real-time price optimization. So that's why we do our own rate shopping. We want the very highest quality of competitor price data. If we didn't do that, like most of the RMS in the market, we would have to get that data from a third party 3 times a day, maybe only 4 times a day, and we couldn't guarantee the quality. So we really want the very best quality pricing data, so we do it directly within the system. And the same applies to online reputation data. Again, we are not an ORM, online reputation management system. That's not what we do. There are many ORMs in the market, and again, they're also very useful and valuable to many hoteliers, but we don't want to be reliant on a third party for that data. We would rather source that data ourselves, because then we can guarantee the quality. Now, in terms of your revenue management information that you might rely on, market demand data is absolutely very important. It's one thing to understand how your hotel is performing. It's also good to understand how it's performing in the context of your city or your destination overall. And again, Lybra produces its own market demand data. And what Vinicius was referring to earlier in the introduction was that Lybra is unique in the way that we use travel booking flight demand data. And I'm going to show you that very shortly. So the question that a lot of owners or general managers will be asking of their revenue team is, when do you think business will come back? When will things pick up? And it's a very difficult question to answer, but with Lybra, we have the ability to address that question, not just this country or that country, but in great detail that's relevant to our revenue manager. Now, what we also have designed within Lybra is the understanding, the algorithm has the understanding of your hotel's perceived value between all of your competitors. So how does the guest perceive your hotel amongst your competitors? And for that, the system is constantly optimizing and analyzing prices for all your different room types, all different rate types, as well as reputation scores. So whether you are doing this yourself offline, or whether you aren't really paying much attention to this or not, Lybra is. Lybra will be always looking to see how to optimize your revenue situation using the guest perspective. Of course, hopefully when events come back the way they used to, they'll be more influential on our demand. At the moment, they're almost zero, as we all know. But Lybra automatically pulls in event demand data as part of the system. And then Lybra also has the ability to directly distribute your prices throughout your online booking ecosystem. So I'm talking about Booking Engine on your direct channel, online travel agencies, GDS, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it's all about optimizing all of your processes and not having to always go back to the PMS for these types of updates. That's another link in the chain that can be optimized. And what each of these different items in the list actually correspond to is the ability for you to make accurate and intelligent decisions in a timely manner. So all of these items that I've listed, you can gather today, and maybe you have this information in your rate shopper, in your ORM, in your spreadsheet, in your PMS. You might have this already, most of it at least, in different places. But what we, as Lybra, have come to the market, or come to the, let's say, product development and innovation, is to optimize this already within the system so that you can make, like I said, faster and quicker decisions. We can refer that to being agile, to then optimize your business for, let's say, a real-time demand-centric environment. So we want to move you away from, let's call it, data curation. And if you are living this life, spreadsheets, reputation management, rate shopping, RMS, PMS, if you are living this kind of life, it might feel like you're spinning plates sometimes. But what we prefer to look at things as optimizing your decision-making speed and decision-making ability. So this is my cue now to log in to the Lybra system. And one thing I wanted to, start with is the reminder that I spoke about the word Lybra meaning balance or equilibrium. The balance between AI with machine learning and human interaction, and let's say human usability. So one of the very first objectives in the design of Lybra was to let the hotelier understand with less than 5 seconds what is the situation like in your hotel. And that was the genesis of the gap analysis feature. The gap analysis is basically on the books data, future on the books data. We can look at revenue, occupancy, ADR if you prefer. But for every day in the future, you can see there's an indication via the colors red or green. Green obviously is good, red not so good. And when I say good or not so good, I'm talking about year-on-year pace performance of either revenue or occupancy, etc. So the first objective was reached. You can quickly see things are good, they look green, things are bad, they're red, and you might have some days with mixed performance so far. But you can then take action. You can then do specific analysis on any range of days. For example, we have a run of about 1 week here of poor performance. So let's try and understand what that performance is like in more detail. So we can look at that in a chart format or in a table format. Here, it's quite easy to see that last year's data is green, this year's is blue. And we can look at that by multiple types of metrics based on your PMS data. So source of business, what channel the guest booked on, what nationality that was staying with you. So it gives you the ability to quickly understand what's happening on specific days. And then to even go further and say, for example, well, we can see that actually every one of these markets, China, Russia, Italy, are all down, except Great Britain. I mean, it's similar, but actually it's gone up. Why is that? So let's click on GB and now try and understand exactly what rate codes they're booking. And this is like a pivot table in a spreadsheet. We're now looking at a subset of data based on the Great Britain nationality, in this example, to see what was a source of business. And, okay, here we go. Segmentation shows us that the leisure segment has dropped off quite substantially. However, corporate, meaning business, is up. So are the tours. Yeah, it's really corporate and tours that really made a difference in the UK market. In this example, and I'm just speaking towards the data, giving you, let's say, a role play or a scenario that you might go through. But this is a feature that we've had so much positive feedback about, because every hotelier wants to look ahead and understanding, are things trending positively or negatively, and then do some investigation, some forensic reservation analysis, but they don't have the time or the tools. So that is the idea behind the gap analysis. Now, in the calendar, you have a single unique view, which is giving you an understanding of market demand, your hotel forecast, what is the pickup, and then in terms of pricing, based on your different room types and rate types, what are your current prices for each day? What is the system's suggested price? And how does that compare with your competitor's median price? Now, obviously, if you wanted to go into more detail to understand not just the median price, but each competitor individually, and are they offering breakfast packages, full board, half board, etc., or how have prices evolved over time leading up to today? You can always drill down and find out more. And this was, again, one of the founding principles of the design, that it had to be easy to understand, but not too simplistic that it wasn't giving the experienced revenue manager the detail they wanted. For example, the segmentation analysis, to understand the mix of business from last year and this year, or to look at a detailed understanding of pickup. So, for example, looking at last year's pickup compared to this year by different booking lead times. So 1 day before arrival, between 1 week and 13 days, or more than 2 weeks, for example, you can see a year-on-year comparison. And right away, I can see that my business segment is down for reservations booked more than 14 days in advance. We had 30 bookings last year, only 17 this year. That's almost a half, a 50% drop-off. So I might choose to look further, and now I'm drilling down by room type. So a room type by room type, year-on-year pickup comparison by market segment. Now, when you explain that to some hoteliers, they might look at you and say, I don't care, and why are you telling me all of this? Whereas other hoteliers or experienced, let's say, analysts go, wow, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I need. Not to analyze every day in the future, but on specific days where I do need to understand the nature of the pickup discrepancy, this can be really useful. And that's another point that we like to highlight, is that Lybra can be used by brand new, first-time RMS users, as well as experienced players who are used to more detail and less, for example, simplified graphs. So that's the ability within the calendar to see a single row for each day in the future hopefully does not belie the fact that you're only a click away from seeing a whole lot more. Now, I mentioned to you before that it's more than just PMS and rate shopping data. In the marketing dashboard, you can see a different type of view on your market demand. We have other analytics shown here, such as your price ranking on a particular day within your comp set. We also look at the segmentation of your hotel bookings compared to your competitors, but not based on PMS data. This is actually based on public online review data. So when a guest leaves a review, we then learn, are they a solo traveler? Are they part of a couple? Were they a family, a group, etc.? So we aggregate all of that data, and then we can see that in this example, families are staying at your property more so than your competitors. However, couples tend to stay at your competitors more than you. And this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good or not how well your PMS reservation data is updated, because we all know that has good days and bad days. This is based on online review data. And so it can give you a really great insight. Now, I mentioned that we do our own rate shopping. So as you'd expect, there's a rate shopping menu. You can get different types of rates. Obviously, the date range you're looking for can vary. The types of rates you're looking for can vary. This is all internal, built into the Lybra Assistant RMS. But in the marketing dashboard, we extract, for each of your competitors, we extract the top 4 price changes they've made, either positive or negative price changes, what the price was, what it is now, and for which date and room type they made that change. Now, what we also do here is the detailed on your online reputation. So what's your hotel performance like? How does that compare with your competitors? We also do something that's called incidence. Now, this is really, really interesting. It refers to value for money. Hopefully, your guests feel that your hotel is good value for money, right? We're showing you what are the elements of the hotel that contribute the most towards value for money. And then finally, the flight search data. Now, here we've got 2 types of information. What is your market opportunity? and where is the flight demand coming from. So here we have a map of the world with all the countries who have searched for a flight for your hotel destination. When I say your destination, in this example, the hotel's in Rome, and Rome has 2 airports, Ciampino and Fiumicino. So we aggregate all flight search data to understand what are the major markets, and they're listed over here on the right-hand side. So Italy is my #1 market, then Spain, UK, Brazil. So you can see what the share of global searches are. Are they trending up or trending down? And then in the case of each of these cities, for example, let's look at the US. You can then see individual cities and what their share of the searches have been. So obviously it's the West Coast and the East Coast here, with LA and Miami and then New York as being the major ports of origin for people searching to fly, in this case to Italy. It's the same thing with every country. You can understand the macro demand as well as the city-by-city demand. And then from a revenue management perspective, you may want to know what kind of traveler characteristics are contained in those searches. So solo travelers, probably corporate, couples, families, small groups, etc. What percentage of shares from each of those categories? What's the average booking window? And what's the average length of stay? So you can see how, for example, Spanish travelers who are looking to come to Rome fit in with this type of profile. Now, if we were looking at the domestic market, in this case, being a hotel in Rome, the domestic market is Italy, then I can start analyzing what that mix will be. And here we still have quite a high percentage of solo travelers, but the booking window is much, much shorter, and the length of stay is also smaller. So these are all really, really useful from an RM perspective. And then what we're doing here in terms of identifying your potential markets is we are combining your PMS reservation data with the flight search demand data. So the countries that are in blue are countries where you already have reservations from those countries. But this country, Spain, people are searching from that country, but you have 0 bookings to show for it. So this is a missed opportunity for you. The trigger, obviously, is to speak with your market managers, speak to whoever looks after those travelers from that market.
I can
to
hear
then
you
sort
fine,
of say,
Erik,
hey,
over to you.
we're still here.
So Trevor,
Don't
I'm not
forget
sure
about
whether
us.
you're much